Bride who was sold. The church bells of St. Bartholomew's rang 13 minutes late on the morning Eleanor Vale became a duchess. Nobody noticed. Nobody except Eleanor. She stood beneath the enormous stone archway, dressed in a gown of ivory silk that had been chosen by strangers, paid for by a man she had never loved, and fastened around a body that no longer felt entirely like her own. Outside, November rain battered London. Inside, every nobleman who had bothered to attend watched her as though she were an interesting piece of property. Eleanor did not cry. She had learned years ago that tears were expensive. They cost dignity. They encouraged men like her father. And Lord Henry Vale had already taken enough from her. Her father's gambling debts had become legendary. First came the horses. Then the family silver. Then the vineyards in Kent. Then the townhouse. Finally, when the creditors began threatening prison, he discovered that his daughter possessed something even more valuable than land. Her surname. The man waiting at the altar was Duke Adrian Blackthorne. 34 years old. Widowed. Immensely wealthy. Feared throughout 3 counties. People called him the Iron Duke because he had broken strikes, defeated corrupt magistrates, and forced 3 bankrupt estates back into profitability. But Eleanor had heard another rumor. His first wife had died mysteriously. Some claimed she had fallen from a tower. Others whispered that the Duke had driven her to madness. Eleanor knew better than to believe gossip. She also knew better than to trust a stranger. The priest began reading. Her father stood behind her. He would not meet her eyes. That hurt more than anything. When Eleanor reached the altar, Adrian looked at her. His expression did not change. He did not smile. He did not pretend this was a love match. Lady Eleanor. Your Grace. His gaze lowered briefly to the wedding ring waiting in his hand. Then he said quietly, "If you wish to leave, I will stop this ceremony." Eleanor stared at him. The priest stopped. Her father looked horrified. "You promised," Lord Vale hissed from behind her. Eleanor's hands tightened around her bouquet. There it was. The truth. Not "Please marry him." Not "I am sorry." Only "You promised." She looked back at Adrian. "Would you still protect my family if I refused?" "No." The answer was immediate. "And if I marry you?" "Your father's creditors will never touch you again." Eleanor swallowed. "And what do you want in return?" "A duchess." "Nothing more." "No romance." "No affection." "No promises." "A transaction." Eleanor slowly extended her hand. "Then let us finish it." The ceremony lasted 12 minutes. When Adrian placed the ring on her finger, he whispered something nobody else heard. "You are not my debt." She looked at him sharply. He offered no explanation. An hour later, she sat opposite him in a black carriage traveling north. London disappeared behind them. Neither spoke for nearly an hour. Finally Adrian opened a leather folder. Eleanor expected financial documents. Instead, he removed a single sheet of paper and handed it to her. She read it. Her eyes widened. It was a list of her father's creditors. Every name. Every amount. Every threat. At the bottom was a figure. £82,400. My father owes this much? He owed more. How much more? Adrian looked out the window. Enough to put him in prison twice. Eleanor folded the paper. Why would you pay it? He finally looked at her. Because one of those men is trying to destroy my family. Her blood chilled. What does my father have to do with that? Everything. The carriage continued north. Hours later, Blackthorne Castle appeared through the fog. It was enormous. Ancient. Built of black stone above a valley where the wind screamed through the trees. Eleanor stared at it. Adrian watched her reaction. "You are frightened." "No. You are." She looked directly at him. "I am not frightened of your castle." "Then what frightens you?" "My husband." For the first time, something almost resembling amusement crossed his face. "Good." The carriage stopped. The doors opened. A row of servants waited. At their head stood an elderly woman with a scar across one cheek. "Welcome to Blackthorn Castle, Your Grace." Eleanor stepped down. The woman leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Whatever you do, Duchess." She glanced toward Adrian. "Do not enter the West Tower." Eleanor frowned. "Why?" The woman's face went pale. "Because the last woman who did never came back." Adrian turned. "What did you say?" The housekeeper immediately lowered her head. "Nothing, Your Grace." Adrian's eyes hardened. Eleanor looked toward the dark western tower. A single window glowed faintly in the darkness. Someone was standing behind it, watching her. And then the light went out. Eleanor's first night at Blackthorn Castle was colder than any winter she had known. Not because the fireplaces were insufficient. Because the castle itself seemed to resist warmth. Every corridor smelled of smoke, stone, and old secrets. Her chamber was enormous. A four-poster bed. A marble fireplace. Heavy curtains. And a locked door leading into an adjoining room. Eleanor tried the handle. It would not move. She turned toward the maid. "Who uses that room?" The maid froze. "And no one, Your Grace." "Then why is it locked?" Before the girl could answer, Adrian's voice came from the doorway. "Because it is mine." Eleanor turned. He stood in the darkness. "You should learn to knock," she said. "You should learn not to open locked doors." "I was curious." "Curiosity gets people killed." She stared at him. "Is that a threat?" "No." He stepped closer. "It is advice." Eleanor folded her arms. "Then advise me. Why is the West Tower forbidden?" His expression changed. Only slightly. But she noticed. "Who told you?" "Your housekeeper. Mrs. Graves has a talent for frightening young women." "Is there something in that tower?" "Yes." "What?" "My past." He walked away. Eleanor hated that answer. 3 days passed. Adrian remained distant. Yet strange things began happening. A fire was always lit before Eleanor entered a room. Her horses were replaced with stronger ones. Books appeared in her library. The cook began preparing the dishes she liked. He never mentioned these things. He simply noticed. And Eleanor began noticing him. He visited tenant cottages personally. He knew the names of servants' children. He inspected roofs after storms. He dismissed a steward for stealing coal from widows. The Duke was ruthless. But never casually cruel. Then, on the 4th evening, Eleanor discovered something. Her father's signature. She found it inside an old financial ledger in Adrian's study. The signature was dated 18 months earlier. Her father had borrowed money from Blackthorn Holdings. But Eleanor knew nothing about it. She turned another page. There were 12 transactions. Then 14. Then 20. All connected to one name. Sir Malcolm Rourke. Eleanor had heard the name. A wealthy industrialist. A political power broker. A man who owned factories, newspapers, shipping interests, and half the judges in northern England. Why was her father dealing with him? The study door opened. Adrian stood there. He saw the ledger in her hands. His expression became terrifyingly calm. Put it down. Why did my father borrow money from you? I didn't lend it to him. Then who did? Adrian walked toward her. Rourke. Eleanor's stomach tightened. Why? Because your father sold him information. What information? My family's land surveys. She stared. Adrian's voice became colder. Rourke wants the coal beneath Blackthorn land. And my father helped him? Your father tried. Then why did you marry me? Adrian stopped. Because Rourke needed your father's debts cleared. Eleanor felt the room spin. You knew. Yes. You knew exactly what my father had done. Yes. And you still married me? I married you because I believed you were innocent. Her anger faltered. Believe? I wasn't certain. She slapped the ledger shut. You bought my marriage to investigate me. No. Then what? I bought your father's silence. She stared at him. Adrian reached into his coat. He removed a letter. Read this. Eleanor unfolded it. It was written by her father. Her hands began trembling. The letter contained only 6 lines. But one sentence destroyed everything. If the Duke marries Eleanor, the Blackthorn heir will be born under my control. Eleanor looked up. What does that mean? Adrian's face was expressionless. It means your father never sold you to me because he was desperate. A pause. He sold you because he had a plan. The fire cracked. Eleanor stared at the letter. What plan? Adrian's eyes hardened. To destroy me from inside my own house. A sudden crash exploded somewhere above them. Both looked toward the ceiling. A man's footsteps ran across the upper corridor. Adrian drew a pistol. Eleanor stepped backward. Someone had broken into the castle. Adrian opened the study door. A shadow disappeared down the corridor. He chased it. Eleanor remained alone. Then she heard a whisper behind her. Your father isn't the one you should fear. She turned. Nobody was there. On the desk lay a black envelope. Her name was written across it. Inside was one sentence. Ask the Duke what happened to his first wife. Eleanor did not sleep. At sunrise, she went directly to the portrait gallery. She had seen Adrian's first wife's portrait the previous evening. Lady Beatrice Blackthorn. Beautiful. Golden-haired. Elegant. Dead at 27. The official story said she had died of fever. Eleanor did not believe it. Neither did the servants. She found the portrait near the end of the gallery. Beatrice's eyes seemed strangely alive. Eleanor stepped closer. There was something beneath the painting. A scratch. She ran her fingers over the frame. It moved. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a small brass key. Eleanor stared at it. Footsteps approached. She hid the key. Adrian entered. You have been awake all night. So have you. He looked at the portrait. You found it. Someone sent me a letter. I know. How? Because I sent the letter. Eleanor's heart stopped. You? I needed to know whether you would investigate. You used me. I trusted you. Those are not the same thing. No. He looked at Beatrice's portrait. They are not. Eleanor pulled out the key. What does this open? The West Tower. Silence. Adrian took the key. Then handed it back. Do you still want to see? Eleanor nodded. They climbed the tower together. The air grew colder with every step. At the top was a room filled with locked cabinets. Documents. Maps. Letters. Photographs. And one wooden box. Adrian opened it. Inside was Beatrice's diary. Eleanor began reading. The first pages were ordinary. Then the entries became frightened. Beatrice had discovered something. Coal seams beneath Blackthorn land. Rourke wanted them. But there was more. She had discovered that several estate officials were secretly working for him. And one of them had access to the castle. The final entry contained only 3 words. He knows. Eleanor looked at Adrian. Who? I never found out. You thought Rourke killed her. I knew he wanted her dead. That isn't proof. No. Adrian's jaw tightened. That's why I married you. Eleanor stared at him. Because of her? Because I needed someone Rourke would underestimate. The words wounded her. She turned away. You never saw me as a wife. At first. And now? Adrian stepped closer. Now I am terrified of losing you. The confession hung between them. Eleanor looked at him. For once, the Duke looked vulnerable. She reached for his hand. Then the tower bell rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. Adrian's expression changed. Nobody rings that bell. They hurried downstairs. The castle was in chaos. A stable boy had been found unconscious. A servant's quarters had been searched. And the estate's main ledger was missing. Rourke had struck. That night, a carriage arrived. Inside was Sir Malcolm Rourke. He entered the dining room without invitation. A tall man with silver hair, a cane, and a smile that never reached his eyes. He bowed. Your Grace. Adrian did not rise. Leave. Rourke smiled. I came to see your new duchess. Eleanor stood. Rourke looked her over. So this is the girl. Adrian's voice became dangerous. She is my wife. Of course. Rourke smiled. Which makes her very valuable. Eleanor felt something cold crawl through her. Rourke placed a document on the table. Your Grace, I believe you have 48 hours. For what? To sell me the northern mines. Adrian laughed once. No. Rourke's smile vanished. Then I shall collect what your wife owes. Eleanor frowned. I owe you nothing. Oh, Duchess. Rourke leaned closer. Your father signed the debt in your name. Adrian stood. You forged it. Rourke smiled. Prove it. Then he walked away. Adrian picked up the document. His face turned pale. Because the signature was Eleanor's. Perfectly copied. And beneath it was a clause neither of them had seen before. If the Duke died without an heir, Eleanor would inherit nothing. The entire estate would pass to Sir Malcolm Rourke. The next morning, Adrian locked every gate. Armed guards patrolled the grounds. No carriage entered without inspection. No servant left without permission. Eleanor expected fear. Instead, she felt fury. You're turning this castle into a prison. I'm protecting you. By imprisoning everyone? Rourke has men inside. Then find them. Adrian stared at her. You think I haven't tried? I think you're fighting him like a duke. And how should I fight him? Like a man who has something to lose. The word struck him. Silence followed. Then Eleanor placed the forged document on his desk. We don't need to destroy Rourke. Adrian looked at her. We need to expose him. That was the beginning of their war. For 6 days, Eleanor investigated every estate account. She discovered missing shipments. False coal reports. Bribes. Forged signatures. And something worse. A servant had been sending Rourke information every week. The traitor was the castle's under-steward. But before they could confront him, disaster came. At midnight, flames erupted in the east wing. Smoke filled the corridors. Servants screamed. Eleanor ran toward the nursery. There was no child there. Yet she heard crying. She followed the sound. Behind a burning curtain stood a little boy. 8 years old. A tenant's son. Someone had deliberately brought him inside. Eleanor ran through the smoke. She grabbed him. The ceiling cracked. A burning beam fell. Adrian appeared from nowhere. He threw himself over them. The beam crashed behind him. Eleanor. I'm here. Move. They crawled through smoke. Outside, Adrian collapsed to one knee. Blood ran down his shoulder. Eleanor dropped beside him. You are hurt. I've had worse. Stop lying. She tore a strip from her dress and pressed it against the wound. His eyes met hers. You're shaking. So are you. He smiled faintly. Then the little boy spoke. The man told me to start the fire. Eleanor froze. What man? The boy pointed toward the castle. The Duke's man. Adrian's face became stone. Someone inside Blackthorn wanted him dead. And that someone had just tried to kill Eleanor too. By dawn, they found the under-steward hanging from a beam in the stable. Dead. A message had been pinned to his coat. One witness silenced. Eleanor stared at it. This is no longer about money. No, Adrian said. It is about killing us. Adrian looked toward the castle. No. He picked up the message. It is about making us afraid. Eleanor stepped beside him. Then we refuse. He looked at her. Something changed between them. No longer Duke and Duchess. No longer a purchased bride and a powerful husband. Partners. Enemies were coming. And they would meet them together. That afternoon, Eleanor found another hidden letter. This one was addressed to her. The handwriting belonged to Beatrice. But Beatrice had been dead for 3 years. The letter contained one sentence. If you are reading this, Eleanor, then Adrian has finally trusted you. Do not trust the man who taught him not to. Eleanor looked up. She knew exactly who that meant. Adrian's uncle. The man who had raised him. The man who had taught him everything. And the man currently living inside Blackthorn Castle. Lord Sebastian Blackthorn had always been polite. That was what made him terrifying. He smiled at breakfast. He complimented Eleanor's gowns. He discussed politics with Adrian. He even offered Eleanor a silver necklace on her birthday. She never wore it. Because she had begun watching him. Sebastian never entered a room without first looking at the exits. Never drank from a glass he had not poured himself. Never allowed servants to stand behind him. And when Eleanor mentioned Beatrice's diary, his face changed. Only for half a second. But she saw it. That night, Eleanor confronted Adrian. Your uncle knows what happened to Beatrice. Adrian's expression darkened. Why? He was frightened when I mentioned her. Sebastian loved Beatrice. Did he? Adrian said nothing. Eleanor stepped closer. You don't trust him. No. Then why is he here? Because he controls half my political allies. Eleanor understood. The Duke was trapped. His uncle had power. Rourke had money. His enemies were everywhere. And Eleanor was the weakness they believed they could exploit. The next morning Sebastian approached her privately. You should leave Adrian. Eleanor laughed. That is an extraordinary thing for a family member to say. You don't understand him. I understand him better than you think. Sebastian's smile disappeared. Then you know he will eventually destroy you. Perhaps. But you don't know what happened to his first wife. Eleanor stepped closer. Tell me. Sebastian leaned toward her. She discovered what Adrian had become. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. You killed her. His expression hardened. No. He whispered. Adrian did. Eleanor slapped him. The sound echoed through the corridor. Sebastian smiled. Now you look frightened. No. She stepped back. Now I know I'm right. She walked away. But Sebastian had already won something. Doubt. That evening, Eleanor confronted Adrian. Did you kill Beatrice? He stared at her. The silence was devastating. Answer me. No. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. Of what? I was with her when she died. Eleanor's breath caught. Adrian told her the truth. Beatrice had been poisoned. Adrian found her dying in the tower. She had one final message. Don't trust Sebastian. Adrian had tried to save her. He failed. Then Sebastian arrived. And convinced everyone that Adrian had killed her. Eleanor's anger broke. She reached for Adrian. I believe you. He closed his eyes. For the first time since their wedding, he allowed himself to break. He held her tightly. Then a gunshot shattered the window. Adrian pulled Eleanor down. Another shot. Glass exploded. Guards rushed inside. But the assassin was already gone. On the floor lay a blood-stained glove. Inside it was a ring. Eleanor recognized it. Her father's signet. Her father was working with Rourke. And now he was coming to Blackthorn. Lord Henry Vale arrived 3 days later. He did not come as a father. He came as a debtor. He entered Blackthorn Castle wearing an expensive coat and carrying a silver-headed cane. He looked at Eleanor. Darling. She felt nothing. Not anger. Not love. Only exhaustion. You should not have come. I am your father. You sold me. His smile vanished. Mind your tone. Eleanor stepped forward. You signed my life away. I saved you. You saved yourself. He turned toward Adrian. Your Grace, surely we can discuss this like gentlemen. Adrian looked at him with disgust. There is nothing to discuss. Henry smiled. There is always something to discuss when money is involved. He placed a document on the table. Eleanor picked it up. Her blood froze. It was a contract. Her father claimed Eleanor had promised him a percentage of her inheritance. But Eleanor had no inheritance. Adrian's fortune belonged to the marriage settlement. Henry pointed to a clause. Unless the Duke dies. Eleanor looked at Adrian. Then back at her father. You planned his death. Henry's silence answered. Adrian stepped forward. Leave. Henry laughed. You cannot threaten me. No. Adrian's voice became deadly. I can prosecute you. Henry's face changed. For what? For conspiracy. Adrian placed another document on the table. Then another. Then another. Every payment Henry had received from Rourke. Every meeting. Every forged signature. Every bribe. Henry stared. You've been investigating me. 4 months. Eleanor realized the truth. Adrian had never trusted her father. He had been building a case. Henry suddenly turned toward Eleanor. You would betray your own blood? She answered quietly. You stopped being my blood the day you put a price on me. Henry's face twisted. You ungrateful. Adrian slammed his hand onto the table. Enough. The room went silent. Henry looked at him. You think you own her? Adrian's voice dropped. No. He turned toward Eleanor. She owns herself. Eleanor felt tears burn her eyes. Then Henry smiled. You have no idea what Rourke possesses. Adrian stiffened. What? Henry leaned closer. Proof. Of what? That your entire dukedom is built on stolen land. Eleanor's blood ran cold. Henry walked toward the door. Tomorrow, Parliament will hear the truth. Then he stopped. And when they do, Adrian Blackthorne will lose everything. The door closed. Eleanor looked at her husband. Can he prove it? Adrian did not answer. She understood. He was afraid. For the first time, she saw genuine fear in the Duke's eyes. The scandal exploded across England. Newspapers called Adrian a thief. Parliament demanded an investigation. Rourke's newspapers published stories claiming Blackthorne land had been stolen from local families. Crowds gathered outside the estate. Servants feared riots. Tenants feared eviction. And Eleanor discovered the truth. The land had not been stolen. But generations earlier, a Blackthorne ancestor had signed a fraudulent boundary agreement. The original document could prove everything. There was only one problem. It was missing. Eleanor remembered Beatrice's diary. He knows. She returned to the West Tower. She searched every cabinet. Nothing. Then she noticed the portrait. Beatrice's hand was painted strangely. Eleanor removed the frame. Behind it was a hollow compartment. Inside was the original land charter. And a letter. Beatrice had hidden it. The letter named Sebastian. He had altered the records years ago. Rourke knew. Henry knew. And Sebastian had been manipulating Adrian since childhood. Eleanor ran downstairs. But Sebastian was waiting. You found it. She froze. He smiled. I wondered when you would. You killed Beatrice. I didn't kill her. Then who? Sebastian's expression hardened. Your father. Eleanor stared. He poisoned her. The truth was worse than she imagined. Her father had killed Beatrice because she discovered his agreement with Rourke. Sebastian had covered it up. Eleanor felt sick. You destroyed 2 families. No. He stepped closer. I created an empire. He grabbed her wrist. She fought. Sebastian raised his hand. Then Adrian entered. He saw the grip. His expression became terrifying. Take your hand off my wife. Sebastian laughed. Or what? Adrian crossed the room. Sebastian reached for a pistol. Eleanor reacted first. She struck his wrist with the heavy brass candlestick. The pistol fell. Adrian tackled him. The 2 men crashed into a table. Eleanor grabbed the land charter. Guards stormed inside. Sebastian was arrested. But before they took him away, he looked at Eleanor. You think you won? He smiled. Rourke has already taken the northern mine. Adrian froze. The final piece of the plan had begun. If Rourke controlled the mine, he controlled Blackthorne's finances. And if Blackthorne went bankrupt, Adrian would lose the estate. Eleanor looked at her husband. Then we don't fight him in Parliament. Adrian frowned. Where? She smiled. At the mine. Rain hammered the northern valley. Rourke's men had taken control of the mine. 20 armed guards. Several hired engineers. A dozen workers held hostage. Adrian wanted to attack immediately. Eleanor stopped him. That's what he expects. What do you suggest? Evidence. She had found something in Beatrice's papers. A list of payments. Rourke had bribed government inspectors. If those records reached Parliament, his empire would collapse. But they needed proof from inside the mine. So Eleanor entered first. Disguised as a widow. Adrian wanted to follow. She refused. If you come, they will recognize you. He hated it. But he trusted her. Eleanor entered the mine alone. Deep underground, she found the records. She also found Henry. Her father was trapped. Rourke had abandoned him. Help me. Eleanor stared at him. You would have let them kill me. I am your father. You were. She turned away. Then heard a gunshot. Rourke appeared. He grabbed Henry. You brought me the evidence. Eleanor raised the documents. You want these? Yes. Then release him. Rourke laughed. You still care about him? No. She looked directly at her father. I simply refuse to become like you. Rourke's smile disappeared. He ordered his men to seize her. Suddenly explosions shook the mine. Adrian had entered through the eastern tunnel. His men stormed the chambers. Gunfire erupted. Workers fled. Rourke dragged Eleanor toward the mine shaft. Adrian saw them. Let her go. Rourke pointed the pistol at Eleanor. You lose everything if I pull this trigger. Adrian stopped. Eleanor looked into his eyes. There was fear there. But not for himself. For her. She whispered. Trust me. Then she stomped on Rourke's foot. He staggered. Adrian attacked. The pistol fired. The bullet struck the stone. Rourke fell. Adrian pinned him to the ground. You should have run. Rourke laughed. You'll never defeat men like me. Eleanor picked up the evidence. No. She looked at him. Women like me will. Weeks later, Parliament cleared Adrian. Rourke's empire collapsed. Henry was imprisoned. Sebastian was sentenced. The forged records were exposed. The Blackthorn estate survived. But Eleanor was not the same woman who had arrived at the castle months earlier. She had entered as a debt. She had become a duchess. And now she stood beside Adrian as his equal. Yet one mystery remained. The original marriage contract. Eleanor found it inside Adrian's desk. She read the final clause. If either spouse wished to dissolve the marriage after 1 year, they could. She looked at Adrian. You kept this? Yes. You could have released me. Yes. Why didn't you? He walked toward her. Because I stopped wanting a duchess. His voice softened. I wanted you. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Then you should have told me. I was afraid. She laughed through her tears. The Iron Duke was afraid? Of you. She smiled. Good. He kissed her. And for the first time, there was no contract between them. For 3 days after the battle at the mine, Blackthorn Castle was silent. Too silent. The wounded were recovering. The prisoners had been taken away. Rourke was finally facing charges. And yet Eleanor could not shake the feeling that the war was not over. She stood alone in Adrian's study, staring at the evidence they had recovered from the mine. Ledgers. Letters. Bank records. Names of politicians. Names of judges. Names of men who had sworn loyalty to the crown. Rourke's network was enormous. But one document bothered her more than all the others. A single sheet of parchment. No signature. No seal. Only a list of payments. At the bottom was a date. 6 months before Eleanor's wedding. And beside it was a payment of £10,000. The recipient's name had been deliberately scratched away. Eleanor stared at the damaged parchment. Someone had tried very hard to hide that name. The door opened. Adrian entered. You should be resting. So should you. I'm not the one who nearly died in a mine. Neither are you. He stopped. She turned toward him. Adrian. His expression changed. What? Who received this money? He looked at the document. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he took it from her. You shouldn't have found this. Eleanor's heart sank. Why? Because it changes nothing. Then why are you frightened? I am not frightened. You are lying. His jaw tightened. Eleanor stepped closer. Who took the money? Adrian looked away. And that was answer enough. Was it you? No. Your uncle? No. Rourke? No. She stared at him. Then who? Adrian finally looked at her. Your father. The words hit like a slap. My father? He received the money. For what? Adrian did not answer. Adrian. He was paid to arrange our marriage. Eleanor went completely still. The room seemed to lose its air. You knew? I suspected. When? Before the wedding. I knew your father was selling something. What? Access. Eleanor frowned. Adrian walked to the desk. He believed that once you became Duchess of Blackthorn, you would have access to my private accounts, correspondence, estate records. And you married me to catch him. At first. Her face hardened. And afterward? Adrian's voice dropped. Afterward, everything changed. She laughed bitterly. Convenient. Eleanor. No. She stepped away. You don't get to say my name as though that makes this better. He followed. I never intended to hurt you. But you did. Silence. Then Eleanor noticed something. A second document lay beneath the first. She pulled it free. Her eyes widened. It was a marriage agreement. But it was not the one she had signed. This one contained a hidden clause. If Eleanor ever discovered the truth about the payment, she would lose her inheritance. And Adrian would retain full control over her property. She looked at him. Did you write this? No. Then who did? Adrian's expression became cold. I don't know. Eleanor's anger turned to suspicion. Someone had forged the document. Someone wanted them fighting. Then came a scream. A servant ran into the room. Your Grace. Adrian turned. What happened? Mrs. Graves has been found. Eleanor's blood ran cold. Where? The West Tower. They ran. Mrs. Graves lay unconscious at the foot of the stairs. Blood covered her temple. Beside her was a black envelope. Eleanor opened it. Inside was a single sentence. The Duke has never told you the worst part. Adrian's face became grim. He knew something. Eleanor could see it. What haven't you told me? Not here. Tell me now. Eleanor. Now. The word echoed through the tower. Adrian stared at her. Then he finally spoke. Beatrice wasn't my first wife. Eleanor's face went pale. What? Adrian looked toward the dark staircase. Before Beatrice, there was another woman. Who? My father's ward. Eleanor swallowed. What happened to her? She disappeared. When? 3 months before my father's death. Did you investigate? Yes. And? Adrian's expression became haunted. I found her body. Eleanor's hand went to her mouth. Where? Inside the old chapel. Who killed her? I never found out. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I found something beside her. What? A Blackthorn family ring. Eleanor looked down. Adrian was wearing one. Her eyes widened. You thought someone in your family killed her? Yes. Who? Before he could answer, footsteps echoed behind them. They turned. Sebastian stood at the entrance. But he was supposed to be in prison. Eleanor stepped backward. How are you here? Sebastian smiled. The prison guards were paid. Adrian drew his pistol. Sebastian laughed. You still don't understand, nephew. He lifted his hand. Armed men appeared behind him. We never wanted the mine. Adrian's face hardened. We wanted the Duke. Sebastian pointed at Eleanor. And now we have his weakness. A gunshot exploded. The lights went out. Eleanor screamed. When the lanterns were relit, Adrian was gone. And Eleanor was surrounded. Eleanor woke in darkness. Her wrists were bound. Her head throbbed. She heard rain striking stone. Someone was walking nearby. She opened her eyes. Sebastian stood beside the fireplace. Good morning, Duchess. Eleanor stared at him. Where is Adrian? Alive. Where? That depends on you. She tried to stand. Sebastian pushed her back into the chair. You have caused considerable inconvenience. You murdered Beatrice. No. Eleanor shook her head. Adrian stared at her. We are not running. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. She held up the transfer document. He wants Blackthorn. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Then we'll give him what he wants. Eleanor smiled. But not the way he expects. They returned to the castle. Sebastian was waiting. He smiled when he saw them. You escaped. Eleanor walked toward the desk. Yes. Then you understand your situation. Perfectly. She picked up the pen. Adrian watched silently. Sebastian smiled. Sign. Eleanor lowered the pen. Then stopped. I will. Sebastian's smile widened. She signed. He reached for the document. Then froze. The signature was wrong. Not Eleanor's. It was a forgery. You. Eleanor smiled. You taught me something. Sebastian stared. What? Never trust a document presented by a man who lies. She threw another paper onto the desk. The original evidence from the mine. Every bribe. Every payment. Every forged document. Every name. Including Sebastian's. His face drained of color. You think Parliament will believe you? Eleanor looked toward the doors. They opened. 3 government investigators entered. Behind them came the magistrate. And behind the magistrate, Rourke. In chains. Rourke looked at Sebastian. You fool. Sebastian stared. You betrayed me. Rourke laughed bitterly. No. He looked at Eleanor. She betrayed us. Eleanor turned toward Adrian. He smiled. The final piece of the plan had been theirs. Rourke had agreed to testify in exchange for leniency. Sebastian had walked directly into the trap. Guards seized him. He fought. He screamed. "You cannot do this." Eleanor watched without fear. "You were right about one thing." Sebastian looked at her. "What?" "I am valuable." She stepped closer. "But not because I am a duchess." She looked toward Adrian. "I am valuable because I know exactly what I am worth." Sebastian was dragged away. Silence filled the room. Adrian walked toward Eleanor. "You forged your own signature." She smiled. "You taught me to read contracts." "I did. And you taught me never to trust anyone." His expression softened. "I didn't mean everyone." She stepped closer. "Then tell me who I should trust." Adrian took her hand. "Me." She looked at him. "Even after everything?" "Especially after everything." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "But our marriage began with a lie." "Yes. And I was bought." "No." He shook his head. "Your father sold you." He lifted her hand. "But I never owned you." Eleanor finally broke. She leaned against him. For the first time, she allowed herself to cry. Not because she was weak. Because she had survived. Outside, the rain stopped. Morning sunlight slowly entered the windows of Blackthorn Castle. The same castle that had once terrified her. The same corridors where men had plotted against her. The same tower where women had disappeared. Now belonged to her too. Not because Adrian had given it to her. Because she had fought for it. And when the final bells rang across the valley, Eleanor understood something. She had not married the Duke to find love. She had married him because she had nowhere else to go. But somewhere between the lies, the blood, the betrayal, and the battles, she had found a home. And beside the man she once feared stood the woman she had become. The Duchess of Blackthorn. Not bought. Not owned. Not broken. Free. The end. If you enjoyed this dramatic historical Duke romance, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and comment below. Would you have trusted Adrian after discovering that he knew your father had sold you into the marriage? Tell me your answer in the comments, and subscribe for the next dark historical romance story.